So, you know that moment when you look around the room for the adult and then you realize it's supposed to be you? Yeah, me too. Hey, I'm Renzi and welcome to I Thought I'd Know by Now. I started this podcast because somewhere along the way, I realized I couldn't be the only one thinking I thought I'd know by now. Know what I was doing, know where I was going, know why certain things happened the way they happened, how they happened. But life has a funny way of teaching us that maybe the goal isn't to have everything figured out. Maybe it's to keep growing, keep trusting, and keep showing up, even when we don't have all the answers. So, every week, I'm inviting you into honest conversation about faith, about life, about relationships, friendships, unexpected detours, and the stories that shape us along this journey. I'm really glad you're here. Let's get into today's episode. You know what's something I've realized? There really is no handbook for this thing called life. None. I mean, yes, of course, there are books, plenty books that I love. Advice, different theories, 10 steps to do this, 7 rules for that. Everybody apparently knows how we should be living or have some type of rule or habit that we should be doing to improve life or to master life. But there's no one size fits all. Because as far as I'm concerned, nobody apart from Jesus himself mastered this thing called life perfectly. And he ended up dying on the cross for a bunch of people who didn't even believe in him and still don't believe in him. Life just keeps life in, right? For all of us, it seems. Which brings me to another burning question that I have for you guys. Why does something have to become so terrible? It has to become so horrible before we are allowed to leave. Before it is socially acceptable to leave. Like, why can't my reason just be, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, or I don't want this anymore? Why do we need something to go wrong, terribly wrong? I do not understand that. Why do we need some type of evidence, witnesses? We need a PowerPoint presentation, 2 references, and supporting documents. What? Sometimes nothing happens, and you just know. And this is kind of what happened to me in Madrid. My 2 years in Madrid went exceptionally well, apart from the summer sun that stressed me a bit. Everything was going great. Lessons were being learned. If you listen to episode 7 and episode 6, I learned independence. I learned to change, become another version of myself. And eventually, I decided it was time to move on. Where to? Who knows? Well, I had already created my vision board for that year. And on it was a beautiful city in the south of Spain that I had already visited twice, Málaga. If you visited Málaga, you know, my goodness, Málaga is bliss. Málaga is beautiful. Picture it. It's hot sun, a beach, 2 things I am already sold on, because an island girl needs these 2 things in her life to keep the magic alive. The sun does something to your spirit as far as I'm concerned. Something about the people that lived in Málaga reminded me of Caribbean people. They were happier, or at least they seemed happier. The Spanish accent was a bit difficult for me to understand, but as with most things in my life, I would have adjusted. So I requested a position at a high school in Malaga. The plan was perfect. You know what I say? I am God's favorite child. So I could move there successfully while continuing my studies online, and I would already have the perfect job set up waiting for me. Basically, exactly like what happened when I moved to Madrid 2 years earlier. And everybody was trying to convince me to stay in Madrid. Keriana was in Madrid. She is trying to convince me, why do you want to leave Madrid? But remember what happened in episode 7. Your girl was switching up without apology. Without apology. I don't know anybody live in Malaga. I was ready to push. And I just knew. I was sure God was going to get me to this new city. I had my eyes on. I was praying. I'm his favorite princess, you know? So obviously, everything was going to go perfectly right. I'd get the position in Malaga, find my perfect flat, have the beach, have my perfect job. The opportunities would just come to me exactly as I planned them. Let me tell you one time, it didn't happen so. It didn't. I didn't get the position in Malaga, and I didn't get the position in the other 2 cities that I had put up as backup plans either. So none of the 3 cities that I wanted to move to, I got the position in. The company was, of course, very apologetic, and they gave me 3 other options. Problem was, I didn't even know any of these cities. So, Renzi doing what Renzi does sometimes, I winged it. I chose the one with the highest pay. Listen, sometimes you need to let the spirit lead, and sometimes you need to look at the salary. That was what I did. So I googled the city. It had a Roman wall, it had a beautiful cathedral, as most cities in Spain do. It did not have the beach I had been trying to get to, and it was in the north of Spain, in Galicia, where it rains a lot. So basically, God looked at my vision board, looked at Malaga, looked at the beach, looked at the sunshine, and said, boom! Surprise, surprise, mother lover. And I was like, okay then. To the north it is then. To the north it is. Lugo, here I come. I love rain anyway. It was weather for 20 toes and no clothes, as we say in Trinidad. I'm not explaining that expression. It's either you get it or you don't. And if you get it, write it in the comments. Anyway, so I'm super confident at this point. You guys know I've done this before. I know exactly what I need to do. I know the high school I'm going to work at. Apart from speaking to the coordinator of the school via email twice, I knew nobody in this city. Nothing about the city, apart from the fact that I was going to Galicia and they speak Galician, along with Spanish, of course. Side note, if you think Spain only speaks Spanish, slap yourself. You're wrong. There are multiple official languages in Spain. Remember when I was in Catalonia and they spoke this beautiful language, Catalan? Now I was heading to Galicia where they spoke Gallego, Galician in English. So, new city, new language around me, new school, new chapter. Let's go. I tell my mommy, I tell my daddy about the move, and I ask for their prayers for this new venture. I was leaving Madrid on my father's birthday, actually, August 27, 2022. So that is 4 years to the date, almost. And I was starting work around the 14th or 15th of September, as I did every new academic year. So, you know the drill. Look for apartments on Idealista, book multiple visits, book an Airbnb for a couple days, pack my stuff. I shipped a few boxes down to the post office in Lugo. I didn't have a place that I was going to live yet, so I just shipped it to the post office. I packed up my suitcases, and this time I had Cariana. So I got Cariana on board to come with me for the first few days. That's my bestie here in Spain. And she could also help me carry some suitcases, use those two hands and help me to carry down some suitcases to Lugo. Because even though I'm awesome, a goddess if you will, I don't have 4 nor 6 hands. So Cariana hands would work. And well, long story short, I moved to Lugo. Not Malaga, no beach. Instead, God said, Galicia, rain, Roman wall, figure it out, boom, take it or leave it. What are you gonna do? And somehow, the place I hadn't planned for became the place I was supposed to go. I love telling you guys stories about my life. I like it. I entertain myself. I think they're entertaining. I like listening back to them too, because sometimes I'm like, girl, what even is your life? But there's always a point in my rambling. And the point of this one is you don't have to wait for something to go wrong before you're allowed to leave. Madrid was not bad for me. I mean, the experiences I learned in Madrid, the places I was working, the academy, the school. But remember that I learned that big cities weren't my favorite thing, but Madrid was good. Actually, Madrid was very good to me. I had learned independence there when I arrived. I changed there. I built there. I made money there. I traveled, went Paris, went London, went Italy. I had returned home after COVID. I traveled around Spain. I built a home. I did. I built a home in Madrid. My academy didn't even want me to leave. My boss, bless her, she really and honestly was trying to get me like, what could we do for you to stay here? I'm like, it's nothing. I'm enjoying it. I had an amazing time. I just know it's time for me to move on. And leaving them was so sad because I loved them. I did. I had a really good relationship with the other teachers. There was no big fight, no dramatic ending. Nobody was like, you need to leave your job, get out of the city, boo. No, it was nothing like that. Nothing was wrong. Nothing was wrong. It just wasn't what I wanted anymore. And maybe that's something we don't talk about enough. Sometimes something can be going really good and still not be good for you anymore. Sometimes a relationship doesn't have to become toxic before you say, see me, I need to get out of this. You know. If you are in tune with yourself, you can know before. And sometimes you just don't have to wait. A friendship doesn't have to end in betrayal. Most times it does. But sometimes you don't have to wait for it to end in betrayal. A job doesn't have to make you miserable. A city doesn't have to chew you up and spit you out. Sometimes a chapter simply finishes. And I think there's something beautiful about being able to recognize that before you start resenting something you once loved. I experienced Madrid for what it was. It was a great experience, beautiful experience, but it was time for me. In my spirit, I knew I wanted to move. I think it's one of the things spending time alone really taught me. When you're constantly surrounded by everybody else's opinions, everybody else's expectations, everybody telling you what they would do, it can get very difficult to hear yourself. But when you spend enough time with yourself, alone, with your thoughts, with God, with meditation, with affirmations, whatever it is you do, without an audience, you start recognizing your own voice. You start getting in tune with whether the situation you're in is actually aligned with where you are, or where you are trying to go, or where you see yourself going. And sometimes that voice says, okay, I'm ready. Not, this is terrible, this is horrible. Not, I hate my life, I hate this, I know exactly what's coming next. It doesn't even have to be that. Just, I'm ready for something different. And I think we should learn to trust that. And as I said, it only comes with spending time by yourself. So my sweet, beautiful human, you know I'm coming with a question. And I want you to think about something. Is there anything in your life right now that you already know deep down in your soul, you already know you don't want to continue pursuing? Maybe it's a job, maybe it's a friendship, maybe it's a dream that you've been chasing simply because you've been chasing it for so long and you think, well, this was always my dream and I just need to get it. Crazy thinking. You can change your mind. It's fine. I promise you, it's okay. Maybe it's a version of yourself. Maybe it's a plan you made years ago that doesn't actually fit the person you have become. And maybe you're sitting there thinking and waiting for some big sign, a big billboard, a big problem. As we say in Trinidad, a big bacchanal. Thunder, lightning, God himself coming down with a PowerPoint presentation and say, this is for you. You know, I say this all the time. God himself needs to come and tell me. Recently, my sister was talking to me about a situation, a relationship she know I had, and she thinks that there is some way to rectify the situation. And I am like, God himself needs to come in front of me and tell me. And still, I'm going to say to Jesus, God, we need to sit down and talk. Just, I think God would have to do a PowerPoint presentation for me with that situation. Maybe or maybe not. Let's see. Not funny. We don't have to wait for God to give us a PowerPoint presentation himself. But maybe you're waiting for something to go terribly wrong so you'll finally feel like justified in choosing something else. But what if nothing has to go wrong? What if knowing is enough to leave the situation? What if you can appreciate what something gave you? Thank you. Namaste. Thank God for the season. Love the people. Keep the memories. Take the lessons. And still say, I am ready to go. Because leaving doesn't always mean something failed. Madrid did not fail me. Sometimes leaving means something finished. It's finished. It's done. Simple. I thought I was leaving Madrid for sunshine and beaches in Malaga. That was my plan. Remember, that was my plan. Instead, I ended up in rainy little Lugo. Definitely was not on my vision board. But maybe that's another lesson too. You could know when it's time to leave without knowing exactly where you're going to end up or where you're going to land when you leave. Sometimes your job is simply to be brave enough to move and let God handle the destination. And if you don't believe in God, let the universe, let fate handle the destination. 4 years later, to the date, I'm still in Lugo. I'm still here. So clearly, God knew something I didn't. And that's another thing I thought I would know by now. And wherever you are in your own story right now, maybe ask yourself, am I staying here because I still want this? Or am I staying because nothing bad enough has happened to give me permission to leave? You might already know the answer. Until next time, keep reflecting, keep growing, keep trusting yourself, and of course, keep trusting God. So, looking forward to hearing from you guys. I'm so excited. Continue on this journey with me. Let's laugh, let's reflect, and let's not be so hard on ourselves because we are all still just figuring it out. I'm Rency, and this has been I Thought I'd Know By Now. Life obviously keeps life in, so let's keep learning, and I'll see you guys next week.